Hello everybody, my name is Maggie and I am from the Weller Center at Lehigh Valley Hospital. What the Weller Center does is we travel to a bunch of different schools and we just teach different health programs to your children. So I teach a lot of different things. I teach things like vaping, I talk about depression, stress, I talk about healthy relationships. So I talk about a lot of different topics. But for you guys today, for parents at home, I am talking about something a little bit different. I want to talk to you guys directly on handling the holidays during a pandemic. As you guys know, this year has been absolutely insane. Our country has been struck by a terrible illness, and unfortunately, our lives have changed pretty dramatically. So many of you are working from home, some of you are working extra shifts, you're at hospitals and nurses trying to treat people sick with COVID. So things are really, really different this year. And of course, as many of you may know, our holidays are going to have to change as well. So I'm going to talk about how to handle the holidays during a pandemic, how to talk to your child about these changes and why they're happening, and some tips on how you can modify your holiday plans. All right, let's get started.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so let's get started talking about how to handle the holidays during this pandemic, because honestly, this is completely new ground that we all find ourselves in. Nobody really this has never really happened before in anybody's recent memories, unless you were born back in the early 1900s during the Spanish flu. So for all of us, this is something brand new. So I just want to talk about ways we can kind of modify, handle our plans during this pandemic, and how to talk to your child about what's going on and why things may be changing. So, first of all, why is this happening at all? Why does anybody need to modify their plans to begin with? Why can't we go about as normal? Well, the reason is because currently our country is facing a major crisis. So, as all of you, I'm sure, know, back in March, we saw the outbreak of COVID-19 here in the United States. And since then, it has completely devastated the nation with, as of this point when I'm making this video, over 200,000 people have lost their lives to COVID-19. And although we have made really great strides in reducing some of those cases, unfortunately cases recently have spiked in most parts of the country, including Pennsylvania. On November 12th, Pennsylvania reported 5,500 new cases of the coronavirus, the first time the state has broken over 5,000 cases in a single day. So as we're seeing, Pennsylvania is breaking records for the amount of positive cases we're seeing in people. So unfortunately for all of us, it is just going up. Things are not really getting any better. If anything, they are getting worse. So because of that, things do have to change. The state is making recommendations that we do change things a little bit. Due to rising cases, the state health department is recommending changes to upcoming holiday plans. And I know this is the last thing any of you want to hear, me included. I don't want to modify my holiday plans. I love my plans the way they are. My family has some really great traditions that we love to do. But unfortunately, my plans are going to have to be set aside, as are yours. We are going to have to change things a little bit because the cases are rising. And the reason we're doing this is to protect those who are most vulnerable. I love getting together with my aunts, my uncles, my grandparents, but unfortunately that looks like it is not going to happen this year. And the reason is to protect them. They are at most risk, those who are most vulnerable in our society. And not only those who are most vulnerable, but just regular people as well. We're seeing young people getting sick and unfortunately losing their lives too. So nobody is immune to this. Corona doesn't pick and choose who it wants to infect. And although this may greatly disrupt our plans that we already had in place and holiday traditions, it is so important that we follow these guidelines to potentially save lives, because that's what we're doing. We're saving lives by staying home and only celebrating our holiday plans with our immediate household family members. So just celebrating with the people who live in your house, who you're with every single day. Your children, maybe your parents if they live with you, and not really going to see anybody else. So not leaving your house to go see other people. So unfortunately, it's really difficult for children to understand this concept. As adults, we're able to process this and understand why we're making these changes. They're for a very good reason, protect those who are vulnerable. But kids are different, you guys. You guys know, you're parents, you know better than I do, that our kids can handle these things a little bit different than us. It may be really difficult for them to process and for them to understand why things need to change this year. And they can be really upset. It can really bring them down. And that's the last thing we want to do. So I just want to give you guys a couple of tips on maybe how to talk to your child about the upcoming plans. So this way we're not kind of springing it on them and them being completely disrupted. So Number one, tell them sooner rather than later. So, right now is the time to be talking to your kids about the upcoming holidays. Tell them, hey, things may be a little bit different this year. Maybe for Thanksgiving or Christmas or Hanukkah, we may not be doing our regular plans or our regular traditions. We may be seeing less people, or maybe we're just staying home altogether. Next, listen to what they're saying. So, really listen to their thoughts, listen to their feelings, don't brush them off, and validate your children's frustrations and disappointment. So, don't just say, you'll get over it, things will be fine. Say, hey, I'm listening to you. I understand you're frustrated and I understand you're disappointed. So am I. Because honestly, it's true. I'm sure you guys are just as disappointed and frustrated as your children are going to be about the changing of our holiday plans. Next, try to provide perspective. So, you guys know, your children, it's kind of hard for them to see outside of the box. They're young, it's hard for them to kind of put themselves in other people's shoes. So, give them perspective on why this is happening and what could happen if we do go and see other people who could be really at risk and make them really sick. So, provide perspective and say why this is happening, and it's for a very good reason. Next, give them a sense of control by getting their input on what they actually want to do. So now is the time for us to kind of do new things. This is like a really rare opportunity where we can kind of maybe make some good changes to our holiday plans and get your child's input. See what they want to do. See what they want to do on Christmas morning or on Thanksgiving or for Hanukkah. Just say, hey, what do you guys want to do? Things are going to be a little bit different this year. So what is it something that you've always wanted to do on Christmas or on Hanukkah that you never got the chance to do before? And honestly, that gives them a sense of control. It makes them feel like things aren't out of control like everybody else is feeling right now. Because honestly, this is out of our control sometimes. That's how it feels. It feels like we're losing grips on things because things are changing so much and things are spiraling out of control with the amount of people who are getting sick. And finally, one thing that I think everybody can do, not only with your children, but with your other family members and friends, make it into a positive. It's really hard to do that sometimes, especially with the death toll rising and the amount of people getting sick and just seeing the news every single day. But I think together as a country, we need to try and make things into a positive. So make this into a positive that maybe never was before. So I don't know about you guys, but for me, whenever I celebrated holidays as a kid, my parents were divorced. So I would go to my dad's family, I would go to my mom's family, I would go with grandparents, aunts, uncles. I would just be nonstop during Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Hanukkah with some of my friends. So we would just be going to so many different places and spreading ourselves so thin. By the time holidays were over, I was absolutely exhausted. So I think this is kind of the chance for us to stay in and just celebrate as a family with our intermediate families and not have to spread ourselves thin by going and seeing multiple people. And maybe try to make it into a positive by starting some new traditions or new activities to really celebrate with your family members. So this doesn't have to be this terrible, cataclysmic event. It can be something positive still, and we can still enjoy the holidays even though things are a little bit different. So how can we alternate our plans? So what are some things that we can do to kind of change things a little bit while still maintaining maybe our core traditions and our core celebrations? Number one, just like the last time, don't wait. Start now. Start planning right now. Start planning to avoid confusion and then make it into something to look forward to. So I don't know about you guys, but I put things off to the last minute every single year. I am that crazy lady who's waiting in line at Target the day before Christmas, buying all of my gifts. This year, I'm not doing that. I'm getting ahead of things. I'm planning what I want to buy early so I can buy things online and not go to the stores. I'm planning my holiday meals with my family so we can establish why we're staying in and not visiting with other people. And also, it's something to look forward to. We don't have to be so panicky and so disappointed at the last minute when things don't go the way we want. So if we plan early, make it an event, maybe a small event with our core family members, it's still something to get excited about, especially with your children. Next, utilize technology to connect with family members you were planning on seeing in person before the pandemic started. So seriously, computers, phones have been everybody's best friends during this pandemic. Honestly, I don't know how anybody functioned before we had the ability to Zoom with one another with big groups of people. It's absolutely crazy how much I've been utilizing technology just in my own life to kind of circumvent all of these changes in our plans and our day-to-day lives. So maybe schedule a nice little Zoom session with your family members, video chat, give them a nice call, so you guys can actually talk and still communicate during your family meals during the holidays. So on Thanksgiving, set up a Zoom time when everybody's eating. If you usually go see your siblings or you go to your parents' house for Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, then try to connect through technology. Still a great way for us to interact without actually having to go in person and potentially put somebody at risk. Next, plan with your extended family members. Give them a call and establish something. Get on the same base and the same page to make the same foods and maybe eat around the same time. This way it makes it feel like you guys are still celebrating together even though we are apart. So together while apart. I know that's they cancel each other out, but I think we all understand why this needs to happen during this time. So maybe if you and your sister or your brother make the same foods, and it can still feel like you guys are together even though you are in separate homes. Next, bring prepared meals and dishes to family members who are high risk and cannot attend. So I don't know about you guys, but whenever I celebrated Thanksgiving, I always went to my grandmother's house. She always made this absolutely gorgeous meal. And of course, this year we are not doing that. My family members are all staying at home so we can protect my grandmother, who is very high risk. She's very elderly, she has health problems, and if she got sick, I don't know what would happen. It could potentially kill her. So we are making sure to avoid that. But instead of her making that whole meal that she usually does, instead my siblings and I are making prepared dishes to bring to her house and pass along without having any contact to put her at risk. So maybe consider doing the same thing with some of your extended family members or family members who are unable to cook for Thanksgiving or whatever holidays you have coming up. And finally, I mentioned this earlier, but I do want to say it again. Something that we can do together as family members, as friends, is start new traditions and enjoy the intimacy of spending the holidays with our immediate family members. I said, how often do we just get to stay at home with your parents and your children and just enjoy the day? It doesn't really happen very often. I don't know about you guys, but I just always cram way too many plans into my holidays. And this year, I'm not doing that. I'm going to relax, I'm going to stuff my face with food, and I'm just going to enjoy it. So maybe you guys should consider doing the same thing too. Just relax, enjoy it, and maybe start some new traditions with your children or your parents. Alright, you guys, so I hope this was informative. I hope maybe you guys will take some of these things I mentioned under consideration or gave you some new ideas on how to celebrate the holidays while still staying safe. So, happy holidays from Lehigh Valley Health Network and Weller Health Education. I hope you guys enjoy, stay safe out there, keep a distance. Happy holidays. Bye!